out, but we are now into Champion Select. See how this one goes down. Both of these two teams, of course, one-on-one. And we'll get into these bans. So first ban will be aimed at Airwaks, taking away the Kindred. Gonna be a Fizz ban over at Splyce. Saw the Fizz yesterday. Had some really good performance. No Perks picked that one up as well.
Vitality were also banning it against Splyce, so that tells us there's something going on there. Clearly been playing it in scrims or, you know, the like, but, you know, we've seen a couple of people start to bring it out. Top lane as well.
Yeah, exactly. It strikes me as a Sencux champion for sure. Gonna have the Rek'Sai ban actually toward Airwaks. Airwaks played a lot of Rek'Sai back in the day and has been coming back into the meta. More and more people prioritizing that pick over some of the other junglers we have right now. Gray's seen a fall off, of course. Rise going to be aimed at the mid lane once again. So Sencux trying to pinch the champion pool here. I
wonder at this point, though, if ROCCAT and Splyce will pinch the jungle pool anymore, or whether ROCCAT will leave Splyce the decision of Lucian or the jungle. And as we say that, Splyce prioritized their jungler here first. What they've put ROCCAT in a situation for is they're either going to force a Nidalee Elise matchup by the looks of it, or we're going to end up in a situation where ROCCAT ban one, Splyce first pick the other. There are a lot of options still available, and with Nidalee getting banned, we'll have to see what Splyce want first.
But priority on Ekko, so it's not going to be priority towards the jungle, but there's not a lot of high priority junglers left open now that Ekko is taken up there into the top lane. Most likely can be flexed, of course. Looking towards ROCCAT, and they get priority on 2 picks.
Really weird set of priorities when you look at the fact that you ban the Kindred, you ban the Rek'Sai, you ban the Nidalee.
Yeah.
At this point, that feels to me like Splyce is saying, well, we don't really mind about Airwaks Elise. Like, we'll play just anything into it, whether it's the Gragas, whether it's, you know, something a little bit more unorthodox and on the individual player like Elise in. Hell, we've even seen Kha'Zix come out in other regions as well. So we'll see exactly what Splyce want to go with, but they want to get Wunder, that control champion in the top lane, get some damage, team fight control with the crowd control from that tank Ekko.
Now, it's absolutely fine as a pick, but it's just interesting priorities. We'll see some teams actually deprioritize that pick as well. So we'll look towards what ROCCAT are going to pick up. Waiting until the very last second before showing their cards. It will be the Caitlyn and the Vladimir pickup. Vladimir 80% pick or bans. Gonna swap at the very, very last second. Numbers are gone. And it's just like, just kidding.
I'd already written down Caitlyn. I was like, it's gone. It's out of here.
Well, system.
We saw Lee Sin come out yesterday from Jankos, looking very strong, and we hadn't actually taken a moment to talk about this. The Jayce hover as a joke from Trashy. Obviously, Parang had it banned away from him in both games yesterday. We'll see if they look to last pick a Jayce here if the situation is right for themselves. I don't know whether ROCCAT would want it because they're fairly low crowd control when it comes to engage potential as it is, like Vlad, and then Jayce top is like, well, I hope you don't run away from us.
Because if you do, I guess we can't do anything. Please come back.
On the side of Splyce, looking for an AD carry. Double hovers now over Caitlyn. We've had it on both sides. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that locked in. Gives you, you know, a sense of control in the laning phase. If you're maxing traps, it can be pretty good in the mid game, kind of accounts for a little bit of that lack of damage. So depends where Splyce want to go on this.
Yeah, really liking the new Caitlyn build where people are maxing trap first and you have all of the traps, and we've seen people try and box people in with traps.
Oh, that was so good in challenge
CSQ, yeah. Actually going to be locking in the Gragas here. They hovered over the Amumu. Saw that in LCK. I wish one day we'll get in the Amumu, but it's not going to be this game.
Not this game, unfortunately. Well, I mean, we've already got some versatility here because the Vlad, yesterday it was played by Sencux, so that being taken away is a pretty big factor here.
True. We're still waiting on that pickup, but 2 fast lock-ins. Going to be the Thresh and Jhin. Actually, the lineup they ran in the first game yesterday in their best of 2.
In their winning game, and now Betsy played Swain in that game and provided a frontline kind of damage and tank threat that prevented people from getting to Steelback. If you couldn't get through the fight, there was no way to deal with his damage. So maybe we'll see the Braum come out here to block a little bit of that potency, use that unbreakable shield. But for ROCCAT, this was very successful. Raze's Thresh as well was so good at picking Freeze out of fights when Freeze was playing Caitlyn because he couldn't avoid the Thresh hook in time when his flash was down. So a lot of options still available here.
Yeah, Raze was going real deep yesterday. Fought some of those games. And now Viktor will be locked in for Sencux. Not a real big surprise. It's like when in doubt, Viktor. Seeing Viktor come back into the meta and does a lot of damage with that ultimate now.
It does do a fair amount of damage. Also is decent. Wow, it's even locked in. Parang
no hesitation.
Gonna get his hands on the pick synonymous with him from Stardust over in Challengers Korea. So we're playing apparently long range with a very short range team fight mage in the mix. I don't know whether I completely agree on that setup. A lack of crowd control outside of hooks and kicks, which are on single targets, but if you chip them down and Vlad can somehow get in range, but maybe by taking a ghost, something like that, maybe it kind of can work.
This is an interesting composition here, Stress. I mean, this is like kind of a mismatch, but you can see how it can work at the same time. Maybe getting a flank off with the TP.
And then on the other side, you've got Splyce with a very quintessential 6.10 comp when you look at it. You've got a Viktor in there, you've got Ekko from the top lane.
Caitlyn.
You've got a secondary tank coming out of the jungle, so it's all good. The Caitlyn there. So this could be the real test now for ROCCAT. With Parang on his best champion, how does the game go?
It's very much signature champions. What are you good at? We're going to try and win our lanes, try and do what we're known for, versus we're just going to play the meta and show you we can do it better. It'll be very interesting to see how this one pans out between these two teams. Well, ladies and gentlemen, jump on Twitter, use the hashtags, hashtag SPYWin for Splyce if you think they're going to take this game, or hashtag ROCWin if you think Jayce is going to reign supreme with Parang taking that to the top lane. We're about to find out as we're heading into game very shortly, heading on to the Rift. It will be the first game here on Stream 1 EU LCS. We'll see what happens when we hit the Rift.
I love it. I asked yesterday on the post-game lobby, I was like, is it a pick? They're just going to go, give me it if it's available. Will it be 100% pick ban? The answer so far is yes. Parang straight away, no hesitation. But the lack of crowd control could very well punish ROCCAT.
Yeah, however, they have some really long-range tools now. If you hit someone with like a Shock Blast or Acceleration Gate, follow up with like Steelback with the Deadly Flourish, and you just snipe someone down from like 2 screens away.
And this is a situation where, believe it or not, Ocean Drakes can be fairly favorable. Because Ocean Drakes, the regeneration is only interrupted by taking damage. So if you're just poking from a distance, you always are going to have that mana regen, the health regen, everything. But almost unfortunately, perhaps, for that scenario, we've got an Infernal Drake first.
Well, every single game I've been on so far out of 1 has had 3 in a row of the first dragon. So we'll see if that carries on. Triple Inferno would be pretty interesting. Infernal, rather. A lot of extra damage when you get that, and then upgrade it, of course, with the Elder Dragons. So we'll see if there's contest over that. Generally, teams will try and get vision, try and contest that earlier on into the game. We're seeing kind of like 6 to 10 minutes versus when it's Cloud Dragon, it's kind of like 18 to never. So people will care more about the first dragon this time around.
So lane swap is set up. There's a red ward already on the Krugs. You can see that's just to see if Raze can get in there and interrupt if that was a Krug start. He knows that it's not. Finds Trashy on his Raptors. Actually taking away a small minion. Denies a fair amount of experience and time on Trashy there. Trashy loses a bunch of health and doesn't really get too much.
Yep, well, he got those 2 small Raptor chickens, but could not get the big one. And Wunder taking poke from Jhin. Very abusive in lane. Not much you can do. Big 100 damage crit. And with Raze coming back into the bot lane, Wunder's going to have to accept his fate and wait for these minions to get into their tower. I think he actually queued the minion wave, which is unfortunate because now all the minions are going to die.
I was going to say, meanwhile, Parang, I thought he was perhaps getting some of the experience, of course, by taking the smaller camps, which is something we've started to see happen with the lane swap duo jungle. Of course, you have to share experience. This, however, is a play we were seeing a lot on EU LCS 2 yesterday, where top laners that are on the wrong side of the map just use that teleport, get up to the opposite side of the map, and yes, you lose teleport advantage, but you gain a little tempo on the actual tower push, and you can see how quickly Caitlyn plus Ekko is able to push back this minion wave and be able to take down the tower a little bit faster.
Interesting adaptation. On Stream 1, we actually just had very normal lane swaps. We actually went back like pre-6-9.
This happened in like 3 of the 4 games from yesterday, and I was like, ooh, okay, maybe this is going to be the norm. I wonder whether you know, some of these teams have had similar scrim partners as well, because that generally tends to be, you know, a big factor on that.
Yeah, they looked at the schedule and was like, all right, guys, who's on Stream 2? We'll group up together and create our own meta on Stream 2. But yeah, highly doubt that's the case. Wonder what is going to take up the top tower, though, and finish this one off. 400 gold to him, gets all of that one down, as ROCCAT will push in the bottom wave. So a little bit of tempo advantage to Splyce.
Yeah, and the thing is, now is we're going to find out where this transitions, because ROCCAT have to come back down to finish this off. It's going to give Wunder some time in the top lane. Now where do the duo lanes go? Because do ROCCAT prioritize any focus on Dragon here, recall and come back bottom, or do they simply just let that go top lane, and you know, continue with the 2v1s?
You'd have to think putting a bit more attention towards the Dragon now, with Mikyx coming into the mid lane. Bit of damage onto Betsy before backing off.
That's exactly what they're doing as well. You can see Jhin already running down to the bottom side, wants to try and at least punish a little bit of this laning phase now, because the Jhin into Caitlyn matchup is one we've seen a couple of times now happen, and tends to start with a lane swap. But in this scenario here, Caitlyn Braum doesn't have their turret. Oh, Sencux going with Betsy. Only a little bit of damage right now. Caitlyn Braum don't have their turret, which means for them to start an all-in with the Braum, which is typically what you want to do, chip them down then all-in, it becomes a lot more risky, because you don't have that safety behind you. If there's a ward there, TPs come out, you get caught in a 4v2, and your team are left trying to react with a TP here. But big wave shoved through. This is where Caitlyn and Braum would like to be if they had a turret, but they don't, unfortunately.
No, still pushing up to that tower, putting down the traps, being annoying. Trashy heading in to his own jungle now, and just warding on up. So we do have standard lanes, or go back to standard lanes after the lane swap. No real advances to either team. Most of it is really on Kobbe right now. Actually, a bit onto the top lane. Parang was on the short end of that lane swap, obviously because they took the tower slower than Splyce.
Yeah, on the very short end of that stick. He is going to be able to farm up a little bit, is Parang. A lot of heavy trading in that middle lane, but the key thing to take away is that Wunder, with that back timing, he's managed to get some of his itemization completed, as Airwaks is getting in behind him. I wonder whether they can set up a dive, though, in the top lane is the thing, because, again, Parang doesn't have his turret either, so possibly an opportunity to get onto the Jayce without... you know, if you can get his flash away from him early, he doesn't have too much innate escape.
Yeah.
You kind of charge through the speed up and hope you can get out.
Yep. Get me to safety acceleration gate. Well, you can see in the mid lane in this one-on-one, when Vlad is left into a one-on-one against like pretty much any matchup, you can see how annoying he is, because you can't punish him just diving under the tower. He can hit you with a full combo, and before the tower even charged up a shot, you just go Sanguine Pool and peace out. It's really irritating to play against Vlad when he's left alone in that 1v1.
It's irritating, but it is punishable with the right setup. Unfortunately for Splyce right now, Viktor Gragas, without expending a lot, like flash body slams when when the Vlad's completely out of position, it's tough to punish. That's why we saw Nukeduck try the LeBlanc yesterday. Trashy, however, looking for flash body slam, perhaps top lane.
Parang's going to try and get out of here. Preemptive flash, respectful, and we'll get out alive.
And I like it. Trashy could have used this flash if he wasn't anticipating Parang to flash first. Holds on to it, allows himself to save the summoner, trades it for the one from top lane. That's the kind of setup that now is going to punish this Jayce in a couple of minutes. Next time he pushes back out, they can bring Trashy back up when he's got his ultimate and really capitalize on this lower mobility top lane.
Big punish there in the bottom lane. Just walking into a random trap that, I just didn't quite see it. Just stepped into the bush, and then you take a headshot and a Q from Braum, and there goes a quarter of your health. So every single time that happens, we do see Airwaks going back into his jungle. Hasn't been too aggressive, not done too much in the map just yet. Has gone back to base and picked up the Tracker's Knife as per usual. So maybe we'll see a little bit more from him in the next couple minutes.
I do wonder where Parang is going when it comes to his build. Typically with Jayce, we've seen them build either flat AD, looking at you know, Bloodthirster, into sometimes old builds. You'd end up getting like Black Cleaver. Also, the tier builds used to be a thing when you'd stack up by being able to swap form, but unfortunately not the case for Jayce in a very long time. But here's the capitalizing on the flash.
There it is. There's the flash, there's the E, there's the ult, and this should be a clean gank. It's just a matter of time of finishing Parang off. Couple more auto-attacks will do it. Body slam. First blood over to Splyce.
I don't mind that goes to Trashy. Well executed. Uses his flash for that gank. I may have liked to have seen that go over to the Ekko, though. Try and win that 1v1 even harder, because Ekko is going to be difficult to kill for a Jayce. Mikyx rumbles them on the dragon. I don't think he's going to be able to steal here. Hail Mary doesn't.
He did hit the dragon, though. So
points for accuracy?
Yeah,
like
I mean, like, well, ROCCAT did block the Q. Yeah, he didn't get it, by the way. ROCCAT picked the first dragon up. It will be Infernal. And Trashy go back into his own jungle now. Had got that first blood, so pretty happy right now. We'll be getting towards that Runic Echoes very quickly. And Betsy also getting his... Betsy getting a blue buff here. So just for the cooldown reduction there and a bit of extra AP.
Yes, of course, going for that Spirit Visage first. Crepo talked for you know, a couple of moments in yesterday's last series of the day about the effectiveness of Spirit Visage first. It's what we're going to see on that Vladimir. You can see, though, triple stack now in this middle lane. Looking to push through. Viktor's clearing most of it out, though, so ROCCAT maybe, you know, overcommitting, but they have drawn a couple of people from Splyce up there.
Again, Betsy just harassing under towers. Picked up the boots now, so he can just run towards you real quick when he's got the Crimson Rush. And if you haven't bought boots yourself or just not a very fast laner, then you just got hit by the Q because it's point and click and there's not much you can do about it. Slowly being chunked down, and as pretty much every non-sustained matchup into Vlad, eventually he'll just grind you down. Top lane now, Farang. Has gone for the tier, as you mentioned, doesn't get the stacks anymore from Transform. Back when that happened, that was absurd.
That was,
like,
yeah.
Oh, he's got stacked tier in like 10 minutes. It's like, okay.
That was such a long time ago. Thankfully, he will, when he gets Manamune, be able to use the autos to get it up.
Sure.
So it's, you know, it's still stacks, not
He'll still get it
slow.
fast, yeah.
But I think the real difficulty for ROCCAT, outside of their lack of crowd control, is also their lack of, you know, regular style tank. Because you've got Vlad, who will become tanky, but also kind of trades off in the you know, the exchange of health for then replenishment and damage as you utilize his skills. You've got a Jayce who wants to build pretty much flat damage, maybe a bruiser item in there somewhere. Lee Sin that kind of wants to go damage and that hybrid role. So there is you know, a portion of me that's like, oh, ROCCAT, you don't have crowd control, you don't have tanks. This is a very delicate composition to make work. So we'll see if they can get Betsy far enough ahead that he can get into the fights very effectively. But you can see this top lane, Parang kind of having difficulty with locking down Wunder.
Yeah, I think delicate's a good word for this composition, but I'm also excited to see what Parang can do on his Signature champion. Airwaks is going to come into the top lane. There's the kick onto Wunder, looking for this Chrono break back to tower. Takes an accelerated shock blast as Parang will chase after. Good Q, Time Winder coming in from Wunder. And Trashy comes into the top lane as well. Oh, you know you want to do it. He had the opportunity to safeguard to a minion and then click Q. With Trashy being there with ultimate, it would have been bad, but it would have been fantastic.
Knowing that Parallel Convergence is coming up, though, that's a dangerous game.
I mean, Gragas, as soon as he goes in, he would have been CC'd and just dead before he could do anything.
Oh, his mind was telling him.
Yeah, it's just that moment as a Lee Sin player is just like, maybe I could finish him off.
But you can see Parang just happy with that trade. They managed to bring Airwaks into that top lane. Good warding, though, on the way up, too. They've now spotted Trashy looking to capitalize on this top lane. A flash is back up for Parang, so no easy gank potential onto him to secure a kill. But still, there's always going to be that factor. If Jayce pushes out, come in behind him, look to at least burn his flash.
For sure. Sencux is farming up the jungle as well, finding it a little bit hard to lane against Betsy, but still, there's actually not a big farm differential between the two players, only very slight. Betsy now completed Spirit Visage, as you mentioned earlier. Very good item of Vladimir, gives the regen, magic resist, health, pretty much everything of Vladimir could want, plus tanky stats, which then converts into damage. So, could not be better, really, for Vladimir.
Your prophecy may have some legs here, Pulse.
Yep. Second Infernal.
Second Infernal is on the cards in a few minutes' time. That, however, is the other side of things. If you now give Vlad you know, another Infernal, or the Jayce, another Infernal Drake, and you just have given them like 16% extra AD or AP.
Yep.
That still is gonna do a fair amount, even if it's 2 and then it changes.
Yeah. And then you get like an Elder Dragon like on top of that as well.
and
Also, think of Jhin, who has like all this AD anyway, which is going to multiply even further.
Yeah.
So Jin's going to have like an absurd amount of AD in this game, so definitely want to keep track of that one. Kobbe and Mikyx still been landing away, still a little bit behind Steelback and Raze, but we've had action kind of go into a lull for the last couple minutes, 30 minutes into this one. Next dragon is up in a minute. I feel like we might have a bit of a contest over that.
Ooh, Sencux.
Airwaks is coming in. Betsy is forcing him off to the side, comes in with a Hemo play, going to flashing away from Airwaks, but he won't be getting to safety. Hemo play will finish him up, but that's a 1-for-1 trade. Airwaks was caught under the tower. Betsy will have to fly away, and Trashy with the great counter gun.
Steelback came up through the jungle as well, which meant Trashy couldn't capitalize on Betsy being low. They do get the flash 1-for-1 overall from what should have been a fairly clean-cut gank onto Sencux there. Sencux gets a whole lot more than they were anticipating out of that situation. Trashy's now at 2-0. It's a good start for the jungler. But generally, this game is roughly even. Back and forth we go on the gank. So Betsy, not a lot of minions here, so even after he pulls, it's all now the aggro onto Airwaks. That's the unfortunate thing in this situation. Betsy's like, hey, I can get rid of the turret aggro. And Airwaks is like, yeah, but now it's on me. And I'm not very tanky.
Unfortunate, but...
Oops.
Yeah, didn't quite work out in that one. But honestly, I feel like Betsy may have just had enough damage to finish off by himself, but Trashy reacting to the jungler's presence was able to turn that into a 1-for-1. Both the kills on him though. Would have been nice if like they'd gone to maybe the solo laners, Wunder or Sencux. Still, Trashy's going to be big. He's got the runic echoes already going into his tanky items. Meanwhile, on the other side, Betsy, he could be going either way right now. Could be going to the Warmugs or the Rylai's. Two options for him right now. Typically go for the Rylai's if you're ahead in lane. Just picked up the kill, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Splyce are grouping around for this dragon, though. Don't want to let the second Infernal go over to ROCCAT. Raze playing the bait game. He's like, 1v4, they'll never assume this.
I think
they'll never know I'm alone.
Yeah, you just act so confident as a support that people have to respect you.
Well, there must be three
there must be three people, but you can only do that when they have no vision and you're sure of that. Otherwise, they're just like, what is this Thresh doing? And then you just kill you. Airwaks taking up this blue buff, and again giving it over to Betsy, it looks like. I heard a flash somewhere.
Yeah, it was from Raze, and they've aggressed from that Gragas ult.
Airwaks with the kick right into Mikyx, but he's actually going to pop the ultimate on the rest of his team, setting them up, and Airwaks are going to get slowed down as well. Wunder with the easy cleanup on the backlines. Parang getting chased down. He'll find one, but will fall in return. That's another kill over to Splyce, and Betsy is now by himself, but he's still at full health as a 4-for-2, but I'm not counting Betsy out just yet.
Really hectic fight, though, in that scenario. Sencux and Kobbe got a massive amount of damage down initially, and that's what really allowed them to secure the fight. Betsy couldn't find his way in at all, and we're now 1-1 on Infernal Drakes.
Very good for Splyce, taking that one away. Has the prophecy become true?
It has. It's a third Infernal Drake.
Fantastic.
Oh, man. This is going to be one explosive game. If this continues to just be Infernals and Mountains. So this was the start of the fight. We didn't quite catch this. So they caught out Trashy. Oh, Raze did not get the hook. Was not expecting Trashy to kite down. Watch for the cross damage now from Kobbe and Sencux. Onto the backline. Raze and Airwaks get completely shredded as they were running away from that. Betsy's in the fight, but he's not near anybody. He's only near Sencux for the entire duration, so actually can't get his damage off. Yeah. This is one of the effects we were talking about with the lack of crowd control is Betsy can have damage, but if people are just walking away from him, until he's got something like a Rylai's, which he's building, very difficult for him to stay on top of a target.
I think the biggest thing for me in that last fight was how well Airwaks set up Mikyx for the engage. Kicked him right into the middle of the rest of his team. It's just like, guess I'm just going to click R now and then hit everybody. So kind of an unfortunate target to hit into his team. So we'll learn from that mistake. 2-0 and 1. Betsy is getting stronger in this game, but the rest of his team is not quite in the same boat. Is generally been dying over the map. And again, going to have to question the composition here because, as you said, it's a fragile composition, it's a difficult composition to play, and kind of have split goals here. And the range composition are constantly getting caught up in fights where they can't deal with all of the AoE and the team fighting prowess of this very meta composition that Splyce have brought out.
And that's the difficulty, that the ROCCAT don't seem to be quite on the same page for that. As Curtain Call comes out, Airwaks wants to go.
Yeah,
Betsy's here.
Playing catch. Betsy coming down into the fight. Use the TP. Mikyx is getting chunked down real fast. Airwaks should be return killed here, but not going to quite happen. That's going to be another kill in return. 1-for-2 so far over to the side of ROCCAT, and Sencux only now joins the fight.
As the fight dissipates backwards, Sencux not really having too much effect. Betsy utilized that TP when Sencux didn't have his. He wants to go!
Flashing in, Tides of Blood, Q, Crimson Rush, and Raze, Steelback right behind him. He's chasing them down. Still has the movement speed, doesn't have the Rylai's just yet, otherwise that would have been a confirmed kill.
Absolutely would have been, and you know, Betsy right now is relying on when he can get into a fight, the fact that he is running Storm Raiders, so as long as he can get the first amount of damage down, chunk somebody, he can start to keep up with people, but if he doesn't get there initially, it's so difficult. But this is a great TP play. In behind Splyce, as Splyce were pushing up for the turret. And this is where the long range mixed with the short range actually works out for them, because they were able to keep Steelback back for a lot of the fight. unfortunately, maybe a touch too far back, because then he's not able to continue to follow up. The hook didn't land. The lockdown did not land from Jhin either. And there was no finishing blow from the rest of this.
It was not. But there was still a lot of damage from Betsy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just one combo, half health Sencux. And now that he's got the Rylai's, that will help him in those type of scenarios where he's having to chase people down. And we'll see what his next item is. We've seen War Mugs and Zhonya's. Typically from here, you'd go for something like a Zhonya's. So you also get the armor stats, but a lot of the damage right now is coming from those AP sources before Kobbe really gets rolling. Just as I say that, he picks up the Infinity Edge for the 2-item power spikes. So yeah, probably now would like to pick up like a cloth armor at the very least.
At this point, though, you got to look at it. For Splyce, they still have the far more straightforward setups for all of their fights. ROCCAT do need to utilize some of that long range to start. But Splyce have got a fair amount of disengage at the same time. You've got the Gragas, you've got the Viktor, who, when you're running back and your opponents are running towards you, that's a lot of the times that Viktor can have his secondary style impact, where, you know, he's putting down the lasers as people are running in, and that kind of disengages in the same way. So I just want to see how ROCCAT are going to continue this, because I feel like the place they're going to have their advantages, as always with longer range compositions, is around dragons, around the Baron. You can poke into the pit and stall Splyce out. Ooh. Again, though, around a turret, Betsy does the same job.
3-man ultimate, Raze coming in, throws out the lantern, no one wants it. Oh! Catches the mid-air, setting them up to knock them down. Raze with the kill right there. Mikyx's going to juke back into the team, try and save Kobbe, but ultimately there's nothing he can do. And with 5 members here from ROCCAT, this will be another kill picked up for them. 3-0. ROCCAT really turning up this game.
The drive-by hook, by the looks of it, gets blasted to the side. Hook's still going in the direction and tags Trashy to pick up that first kill. That was pretty sick. I've not seen too many hooks hit like that as you fly in through the air. So ROCCAT have really turned the game up, kind of baiting Splyce into that bottom tower again and again. This time they actually managed to get it, but punished heavily for it. Now Splyce can pull back, set themselves up Vision for Dragon and recall. But again, look at this. Multi-person Hemo play without any crowd control having to land is not what should be happening to Splyce.
What a hook.
There's some hooking with style at that point. And Betsy is able to finish off Kobbe. He's got enough damage right now. And that Rylai's just makes it easier. Braum given a kill at the end as well. So, I mean, it's looking good for ROCCAT. They're making the composition work, even with it being, you know, a tough one to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, the trade was Splyce taking a tower in the mid lane. So, in terms of gold, Splyce did come out net positive, but all the gold is being funneled over to Betsy right now. So, kind of an issue, because that Vladimir is getting so huge. He's basically carrying these fights on his own back. And Parang, he's starting to get rolling as well. Picked up the more amount Mortius.
Importantly, though, ROCCAT, they've set up vision control now around the dragon, and they got bot tower. Airwaks kicks Trashy.
And Trashy's into the team, but he's still very tanky. Airwaks will drop first before Trashy jumps back into his own team with body slam. Steelback will start having to back away as Wunder is coming in from the top side. Steelback returning fire a little bit as Betsy is forced to go down. Mikyx coming in here trying to land a Winter's Bite onto Raze, but with Dragon being live, they are hungry for another Infernal Drake.
This will be the third of the game, and the second for whichever team takes it. Looks like Splyce have the easy secure here. Airwaks cannot get the smite down. He's still in the respawn chamber, so that is 16% now increased AD and AP going on to Splyce. And with this team fight composition, with a Viktor that just wants to burst people down, this could be a very fast set of team fights when Splyce actually get their hands on ROCCAT.
Yeah, they have a lot of damage now. Okay, what's the next one? Stress, update me.
It's going to be Cloud.
Cloud, okay.
Cloud.
Well, the prophecy has already been fulfilled, so we can cross this one off the list and we'll go on to next game as well.
But that does now raise an interesting point, because if this was Mountain, maybe Splyce would want to fight over it.
Yeah.
You know, draw attention down bottom side, because you can kind of assume ROCCAT can't rush the Baron particularly effectively, but now Splyce will probably say, well, we don't care about Cloud Drake. Let's go up to Baron and maybe look for the Baron bait. This is the situation where we may see a change in focus from teams because of the Dragon spawn.
I think it's very possible. Really, at this stage, you don't want to fight over a Cloud Dragon. In fact, at any stage in the game, you don't want to fight over a Cloud Dragon. So now with Baron being live, 24 minutes into this game.
I mean, realistically, I don't even want to lose vision control for a Cloud Dragon, if I'm being honest. If you lose control and then have to push back up to an area, that can be detrimental. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little too much. Cloud Break, if it does stack up, can have some uses, but certainly is
get 3, yeah.
Low tier Drake.
Low tier Dragon. Unfortunately, at the bottom of the tier list, maybe times will change and the ugly Drakeling will turn into a beautiful dragon.
Seekers, it wouldn't even help here because Wunder's in combat.
Yeah, well, Wunder actually jumping back into Betsy. He still has his ultimate, remember, but with Airwaks coming in, he's trying to predict the Q coming up. He's just going to kick him right into Betsy. Wunder just got chased down and died. And
the rest of Splyce had nothing that they could do. I mean, Sencux maybe could have looked to a TP top, but at that point, Betsy's already dealt enough damage to Wunder that maybe he just gets 1v1'd as well.
Yep.
This Vlad is huge, and honestly, Betsy seems to be really finding his footing on these mages that also become very tanky when you look at the likes of his Swain from yesterday, the Vlad today. Pretty good performances, you know, providing a similar role, but Vlad and Swain, obviously the lack of crowd control and the way you're utilized is somewhat different.
Also in this game, Wunder, he's gone for double armor items first before even picking up a Spectre's Cowl. Generally, you'll see Spectre's Cowl as a component left there until you need it. I definitely feel in this game he needs it, as Betsy has a lot of those kills, a lot of that farm on him. He's a big threat on that team now.
And I have to feel that that's ROCCAT just swapping their lane assignments in this scenario, because they're like, well, we don't really want the Jayce against the Ekko. That's not a matchup that we're particularly happy with right now. Jayce needs extra time. His tier is at 592. So not even fully stacked on that. So, hey, he doesn't have MR. Let's just go put our very fed Vlad up against him and see what an Ekko can do. Oh, he's got this ult. Doesn't even give him much health back.
I mean, also Vlad great in long lanes, especially when he has his Rylai's, because he's fast, he slows you down, and he'll just chase you forever. And you can beat Ekko, who is also good in long lanes, but you can't run away from him. There's just literally nothing you can do, and so much damage, instantly clearing that wave. Unbelievable power.
Man.
He's got the Proto Belt.
The Proto Belt is here. Going to give him that gap close. We were talking about how are they going to get the Vlad in. Well, if he can just blink himself forward. Not a very common item that we've seen in general, but Hextech Proto Belt does have an active, which will dash you forward a small amount. And then fire out some missiles, and they'll deal extra damage as well if they hit. Yeah,
we've seen it a couple times. We saw it once in CSQ on a cannon, I think, and we saw it yesterday on a Vlad as well.
Okay.
Yeah, right about fun item. Very cool to watch. Little missiles come out.
And it hurts.
It really
a fair amount.
They look like very small and they're not very spectacular, but when you get hit by one, you start respecting the little missiles.
It's like the noisy cricket from Men in Black.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. Shooting 5 missiles. Well, Airwaks coming into the top lane. Nothing to gank right now because Betsy is pushing very far into the top lane. 273 farm on him into this game. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Splyce is pushing down. And 1 minute 30 remaining on that dragon, but no one really cares. It's Cloud Dragon. Betsy is still pushing up the top lane, and no one's really dealing with him. Sencux is in the top lane now. He's got the short end of the stick, and he just can't really get near him.
The thing is, no one man seems to be able to when you look at it. And I don't know whether that's going to particularly change, because even though, yes, they've got an Executioner's Calling on Kobbe to cut through a bunch of that healing, unless they're in a 5v fight, which is not where Betsy is going right now. You see Sencux uses everything. Betsy blinks forward, gets a bunch of health back.
Well, I'm full health again. Oh, he's not quite.
Yeah, I was going to say, not quite.
He's got Crimson Rush, but he gets a lot of health back real quickly. Mikyx coming into the top lane, but
Splyce are collapsing.
Nope, from Trashy. There was already 2 people there, Airwaks and Raze, so wasn't really looking for that fight to open up. And now rotating back into the mid lane once again. So Splyce finding it difficult to do anything proactive in this game because Betsy's shoving one lane, the rest of ROCCAT's rotating from lane to lane, kind of stalling everyone out. Parang's still farming. Parang's murdering Wunderwear in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Wunder really has had this matchup start turning away from him now. Ghostblade was completed for Parang. You can see he pops Hypercharge, the W from Jayce. Gets so many auto attacks out at a very high speed.
Yeah, typically what you want to do with that ability is hit an auto attack first, and because it's an auto attack reset, looks like you fire 4 bullets. And a lot of damage coming through. Sometimes you can also swap form if you want that melee form. The main reason for that is it looks really cool with the hammer, just swinging super, super fast.
It looks really cool. Okay.
Yeah, typically you just stay in range form because range is good in League of Legends. Betsy still in the top lane. No one can really push him out. Like, you need at least 2 people, and even then, he will probably just run away.
He's also nearly got Zhonya's completed, so if you ever do lock him down and catch him in between cooldowns, he's going to hit Zhonya's, wait for the E to come back up, and the W will be on a fairly short cooldown afterwards. However, Mikyx has been caught.
He's into the box. Q comes out. There's the ultimate as well from Mikyx. He's going to jump towards his team, but he's blasted back right into the meat grinder there as Betsy is going to go into the back line, try and put them damage onto Kobbe, but he's being zoned away. Sencux goes a little too deep. Wunder now only entering the fight and immediately has to back away. Curtain call comes up and Kobbe's got his dancing shoes on. That's one projectile landing, looking for the last one. Doesn't quite connect. 5 projectiles, 1 connect.
Skill shots are hard, man, but for ROCCAT, they get themselves a good setup for that fight, and again, all they lose is Airwaks. Now, what that does mean is they can't instantly go up to Baron like they wanted to. The team was starting to move that way, but without the smite and Trashy still being alive, it's a little too precarious to go for it. They're going to push towers instead.
Raze just checking if there's something over the wall. Mid tower goes down over to ROCCAT. Spooky noises as Steelback is in his last shot. And he's going to hit someone with that. But there, start of the fight, Mikyx just getting caught over. He tries to make it over the wall, but Airwaks is going to stop him.
Again, Betsy, though, is cutting his way into the fight, pretty much unopposed here. Gets onto Kobbe, forces him to stop dealing damage, and that allows the rest of ROCCAT to output their damage in this fight to follow. And I mean, from here, there's not a lot that Splyce can do with the start of that fight going so badly. And, you know, we were talking about Mikyx having a great set of games yesterday, or at least his Bard game was fairly impressive. This game has been in a situation where he's been caught out a fair amount. And some of it has just been him warding, some of it has been him having to play a little more forward to try and peel for the rest of Splyce and get them out of fight. Splyce, we've seen this a couple of times from some teams where they're trying to rush down a Baron and they haven't killed anyone. They're now going to get poked down.
Braum's coming in there, but they might be just trying to open up a fight. Wunder gets hooked in by Raze, and Steelback is raining down fire from the left-hand side. Parang kind of leading the charge here. A lot of damage onto Splyce. Poke damage, big shot there coming in from Parang once again. Mikyx, ironically, the guy who's meant to be blocking the shots, is at full health. And ROCCAT going towards Baron. But not sure if they're going to start this one off. Splyce are continuing to get poked down. Kobbe's having to go back to base. ROCCAT could start this.
They don't really want to start it. I mean, at the same time, there's still this poke composition, so they don't want to allow Splyce to kind of group on them. They also heavily pinged the bottom tower to get somebody to take that big stack of minions that's down there. ROCCAT have themselves a lead. They don't need to throw it by kind of starting the Baron and going, hey, we pushed them back, right? This is enough time. We didn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
Because it's only a matter of seconds before Sencux, Kobbe regroup, get themselves to the Baron, and you're finding yourself in a fight in the Baron pit against a team fighting team.
We've seen a lot of teams already try and do these rush Barons, as you mentioned before. Giants, well, yes, they tried it. Didn't work out so well. Immediately, the next 8 minutes after that, they just lost everything they owned. But Splyce this time don't fully commit onto this one. But they are just trying to make something happen in this game. And I feel for them because there's not much they can do.
The reluctant dragon.
Yeah. But it's just like, if Splyce just send one guy to interrupt, ROCCAT would be like, nah, it's fine. We'll take it later.
Yeah, they're not really sold on committing to this. You can see, like, both teams are like, well, I don't really want the dragon. Can we poke you down a little bit first? Airwaks wants to go in for the engage, though.
Coming in from the side, Sencux is going to find him, though. Airwaks jumps in, immediate interrupt from Trashy, lockdown, gets the kick onto a couple members, but not before Betsy can get in there. Gragas comes up, a lot of health coming back right into the Sanguine pool. Razor's following after, but they managed to take down the Vladimir, and now the tables have indeed turned. Wunder is leading the charge onto the rest of the remaining ROCCAT squad. Parang gonna drop. Wunder still chasing after Steelback, locking him down, ace in the hole. And this last time, Wunder should seal his fate. Steelback is going to fall for the ace over the Splyce. They found the fight they wanted.
ROCCAT were reaching too hard to try and get the perfect engage by getting Airwaks over to the side. He wants to get Kobbe. Trashy with a great block on this fight. Stopping the Lee Sin from getting the kick is what immediately puts ROCCAT on the back foot. Betsy then gets focused down by the front line of Splyce, and Parang hasn't been able to output enough damage. If that shot blast maybe connected, they could have got something done, but they capitalize on the good fight. ROCCAT get punished for having poor engage, and Splyce have put themselves right back in this game. They're on the Baron.
And the Baron is dead. Going to be smacked away by Trashy. They're all going to go back to base before ROCCAT have even re-entered the Rift. And the Baron play the Baron power play has started. The irony that the Cloud Dragon is actually the one that opened up the fight for Splyce.
And look, it's still standing.
Yeah.
It was not worth fighting
to like
over.
100 health there as Steelback tried to net it with his 4th shot. And I actually don't think anyone's gonna take it. Honestly.
No, that's just gonna sit there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, because Splyce are like, well, we've got towers still to push. There's a whole lot of stuff. This might be the longest living dragon we're gonna have in a while, unless Splyce turn to it right now. You've got towers to push, Splyce. You've got a wave in mid. You could push that out.
15%, or not even 15%.
Okay.
If it was 15%, it would be amazing. But
I don't know whether I completely agree on prioritizing Cloud in the first minute of your Baron.
hey, they committed like what 30 seconds to that play.
But hang on, now they've lost the minion stack they had mid lane, which was fairly sizable. They've pushed around, turned around bottom lane, which is okay. That is one of the other things that they want to do. But now they're recalling with the Caitlyn and the Braum. You've gone from instantly acing your opponents, taking Baron, and having a lane setup to take down one of their inner towers, and you've recalled out now, wasted the first minute and a half of Baron because you're not able to push without that Caitlyn. Now they'll regroup on it. It should be okay to push mid as the wave resets, but I don't know whether the loss of tempo from taking Cloud Dragon there is actually viable and worth it.
Well, ROCCAT are going to be absolutely fine with this because they have not had to deal with any push at all in the last minute and a half. Mid tower's going to go down, still holding the line at the inhibitor in the mid lane. Hook lands onto Kobbe. That is probably the worst person they could have gone on to. Flash away for the belt by Betsy. He's going to try and get into this fight.
Raze died in the middle of that Chaos Storm.
just kind of keeled over and died. Didn't even catch that one.
It was just one of those spikes from the storm. Just
he even tried to flash away by the look of things.
Dance under the
press all the buttons. It's like, oh, can't get away from this.
Mikyx playing catch this time.
Yeah, he's doing a good job of that one. Mid tower's being sieged in. 4 versus 5. This will be a rough fight. Airwaks, good kick to open this one up. Betsy doesn't quite want in just yet. Not really reading from the same page right now. Wunder jumps in, but he immediately wants out. Betsy came into the team, but is also going to retreat to his team as well. Splyce all incredibly low, but so are ROCCAT. This is going to be a bloodbath here as Wunder will jump
Betsy,
in. Pick up 1, pick up 2. Will jump back over to Parang with the chrono break and pick up another kill. Looking for a hooker there from Raze. Doesn't quite connect. 3 for 2. Tempo to Splyce.
And Splyce were playing with fire during that. Still 50 seconds on Betsy and Parang. Is there a world in which Splyce just look to push for the win? Steelback is there. Wunder goes on in.
Maybe Sencux jumps in, flash, Chaos Storm onto 2 players, but that's bought time for Kobbe. He's now tanking up the tower. Raze looking for that Q to land, doesn't quite happen. Kobbe trying to take away this tower before the respawns come up. There's nothing that Steelback can do about it right now, but Raze clearing out these minions means that there's no more pressure. Wunder's too low. They lost the mid laner. They'll be happy with the Nexus turret and an inhib.
And from that Baron buff, they get nearly 5,000 gold lead extension for Splyce. So this was the kickoff of the fight. You can see Betsy manages to go in, and it looks like Betsy might be able to clean this fight up at the end, but actually just ends up getting focused down pretty well. Betsy dealing a lot of damage to Trashy, but Trashy's cask has already been used to kind of get the fight-winning play as they blasted a lot of the backline into the rest of Splyce. And maybe a little overstay from Splyce after looking to try and end the game, but still, I question whether the tempo loss on Cloud Drake was, a mistake from Splyce. They actually end up getting a pretty good Baron power play from it. They end up taking the inhibitor down and putting ROCCAT onto 1 Nexus tower remaining on low health. So certainly they made it work for themselves.
Yeah, made it happen. And next one will be Elder Dragon, so that will be worth taking. And Wunder is now very strong. He's picked up 4 tank items, is building towards his 5th. Mid lane, Sencux equally doing as much damage as Wunder has tankiness. And bot lane, Kobbe rapidly approaching late game Caitlyn. I think he's already there. Only got 1 more item to go if he sells his boots. And ROCCAT just going to have to try and hold on. They still have this poke for them, but it hasn't really been that successful in this game because they haven't really found opportunities to leverage the poke from Parang and Steelback. And Betsy has been one of the big carries because there's been a lot of fights and he's been picking up the kills. So it's been great for a Vladimir, but you have to feel if they had a more team fighty composition around the Vladimir, maybe the results could have been different.
Well, this is the thing now for Splyce, is as long as they're warding their flanks, it becomes tough for ROCCAT to get a good start to a fight without Betsy TPing in from behind or the Lee Sin trying to come in from the side. So that's what ROCCAT have been trying to do, but it's been denied time and time again now by Splyce actually proactively warding and making sure they have vision control. As well as also Trashy just kind of blocking Airwaks everything.
His body slams and ultimates have really been on point this game. And now ROCCAT will try and defend the mid lane. Bot lane is probably where the attention is going to turn from Splyce. Actually 1 minute towards the Dragon and Baron, so maybe they'll just hold up for these neutral objectives. Mikyx is coming up here, taking away some of his wards and just pushing the vision into ROCCAT's jungle.
And here's the thing about that Dragon for Baron. Is Splyce may actually just say, let's get Elder, if Wunder doesn't die here at least.
Well, he's not taking a lot of damage, gotta be honest. That was Ghostblade popped as well.
Because if Splyce prioritize the Elder Dragon, get themselves the 50% amplification on all of their other dragons, they're amping 2 Infernals and that Cloud, which means they can get to the fight faster and hurt ROCCAT in the fight faster as well. With a team fighting composition, the amount of damage that Viktor will have will just be insane from that buff. So, I mean, Viktor's at 740 AP right now. So if you infer from the 2 Infernals before it, plus then amp that by 50%, he's getting like a ridiculous amount of AP from the Dragon.
He gets a lot of mileage from it, that's for certain. ROCCAT coming out here. All these traps are being set up in from Splyce. And ROCCAT into this mid lane. They'll have to pass through the trap zone that has been set up by Kobbe. Very cautious to set through these ones because they're probably going to receive a headshot. And because they're completely blind right now, they can't even see Splyce. Airwaks ward over the wall. See that the Dragon is down to 50% already. Kobbe hitting these with these big crits. Trashy as well. Airwaks coming in from the backside. We'll be trying to set this up again. The trap line has been moved. Wunder just looking for this flank to go onto Parang and Steelback. Disrupted the backline already. Gragas is going to try and lock down Mikyx, but Betsy is now the one-man army against 4 players. Wunder is going to jump back to his team. He's shut down, but equally so is Betsy. Mikyx looking to chase down Trashy, or rather Airwaks, and he gets stunned down, concussive blows, and now he's under fire from Kobbe. Should be falling here, and the lance is not quite going to save him. We'll track him down with the auto attack coming in from
Splyce are looking to end. They feel like they've won enough from that fight. Betsy's not there. Airwaks is dead. Splyce with 5 or 4 members strong think they can recall and look to end. Parang has a Guardian Angel. Steelback is still there but has no summoners. Splyce have to play this fairly carefully. They may just inhib him back out. Depends on how lucky they're feeling here.
Oh, they feel lucky. Lining up the shot, both the AD carries. Looking to put down some fire, see if they can make something happen. Big crit onto Trashy. Parang trying to make something happen. He's got the Guardian Angel. He can be a little more aggro here. Raze is going to get critted down. Big crit out from Caitlyn. Parang is going to get chased down after. And Kobbe is going to town. That will be the drop on everybody. And now onto the Nexus itself. And Splyce are just going to straight up finish the game. Another headshot to round it off. Splyce take game 1 over ROCCAT.
Nobody could deal with Kobbe at the end of that one. Far too much damage coming from that late game Caitlyn. Full build was out. And Parang, you didn't see it on the screen, went into the Guardian Angel. Trap came down. 1 shot.
Yeah.
1 kill.
Absolutely destroyed. That was a close game, though, for a lot of that game. ROCCAT actually looked like they had the upper hand for a lot of that until we got into the later phases of the game. And it was really just down to that Cloud Dragon fight, actually, which opened up, and then Splyce were able to gain the momentum over that, because for the longest time, Splyce actually just couldn't make anything happen. They couldn't force ROCCAT into a fight. They were constantly being stalled out. Betsy was in a side lane, constantly pushing, and they found it really difficult. So I just feel like if that fight hadn't happened, maybe it would have stalled out for a long time. I don't know. But ROCCAT couldn't force the issue, but Splyce, I feel like, was finding it harder.
Yeah, I think, though, one of the turning points that Splyce had was kind of gradual throughout the game, and that was Wunder getting a whole lot of kills and assists. Yeah. Got him to that 4-item point fairly quickly in the game, and he became difficult to deal with for the rest of the ROCCAT group, so the poke wasn't quite hitting after that.
Indeed. Well, that's our thoughts. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at the game.